Okay, hello chess players. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to play the English attack setup against the Taimanov Sicilian. So the move order would be e4, c5, knight f3, e6. It could be knight c6 as well. And then we have d4, cd4, knight d4, and then we're going to have this move knight to c6, which is going to begin our Taimanov setup. Anyways, if you like content like this and want to see more of it, please hit that subscribe button and click on your notification icon. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to play the English attack against Taimanov, but I'm also going to discuss, like, can we play the English attack against absolutely every single setup? I think the answer to that question is actually no. I think there's at least one setup where it's very difficult to play an English attack setup, and we probably shouldn't try. But yes, for the most part, you can play the English attack against almost anything. It's actually it's an incredibly versatile system. But anyways, against knight c6, against this move order, we can continue with knight c3, and we can start setting up our English attack. Now, I think it's important to understand what we can't play an English attack against if you're wondering, because it seems like, okay, Taimanov is knight c6, c6. We can still play it. Is there a limitation? What can't we do it against? I think it's very awkward to do it against the Pulse and Khan. I think if they play a6 and then we continue with knight c3 and they play queen c7, I think this is almost specifically aimed against the English attack, even though they were, of course, playing this move order long before the English attack just sort of took over back in the 90s, when it was just everybody was playing it against absolutely every single setup they could think of, because it was really simplifying White's middle games. But against this setup, it is really awkward to play a move like bishop e3 here, which would be your English attack setup move. You would play bishop e3, f3, etc. The problem is that there's no knight in the way of the queen putting pressure on c3, so bishop b4 is actually very strong, and you don't have a great reply because you have to sort of defend this knight. It's actually, you're not so much worried about the bishop exchanging itself for the knight, because this will of course leave black with some weak dark squares, but if he takes twice on c3, that's a problem. Your king would have to move. You can't block with the bishop without hanging the knight. You can't block with the queen without hanging the rook. So you actually do have some sort of obligation to hold that knight. The computer wants to retreat the bishop. The computer wants to play bishop d2. This is, of course, less than ideal. Black is already at least equalized, if not better. And, of course, it asks the question, why did you play bishop e3 last move if you were just going to retreat it to d2? Almost any other move would have been better. Even the possibility of something like, say, a3 would be better, although black should equalize fairly easily in this instance. a3 is potentially an attempt to just play the English attack setup anyway. You can play a3, b5, bishop e3, knight f6, f3, bishop b7, queen d2. Unfortunately, after just knight c6, bishop c6, I would say black is already completely equalized, but maybe even black is actually just slightly better. It's very difficult to play any sort of normal plan in this position that seems to work. Black is already set up to play d5, and I see no reason why he shouldn't play d5 on the next move. And I think black is doing really, really well here. So I don't really like this particular setup for black. Also, in the knight c3, queen c7, bishop e3, bishop e4 category, if we played something simple like queen d2, knight f6, f3, d5 is quite strong. Again, with all these similar problems. So against the Pulse and Khan, I don't think we can do it because this queen still has a straight line to this knight. But, of course, in the Taimanov, that's not an issue. So knight c6, we can play knight c3 if we want to. There is no straight line with the queen to the knight. And, of course, bishop b4 isn't nearly as scary as it would be when that queen is on c7 putting extra pressure. In fact, if they play bishop b4 here, we can simply capture this knight on c6. We could play knight capture c6. Knight on b5 is also possible, just aiming at the d6 square. You can play this as well. I think they're both reasonable, but objectively strongest is knight c6. And again, we're not worried about the doubled pawns on c3. If they did take, it would actually be a mistake. Like if they played bishop c3, bc3, and then say wanted to exchange queens, black might say, hey, you've got nothing here. You've got a bishop pair, and black has weak dark squares is what you've got. These doubled isolated pawns matter for very little in this position. For example, bishop f4, king e8, castles queenside should be decisive advantage white. Black is never going to get off the ground with his development. It's hard to play bishop d7. You can't connect the rooks. You have this bishop pair and you have two rooks, and it's not difficult to improve white's position from here. F3 if the knight attacks, or e5, bishop d6, bishop c4, rook d2, rook a d1. I mean, we're almost mating with the white pieces. So That's kind of the difficulty is we have knight c6, and of course if they play bc6, we can play queen d4, hitting the bishop and hitting the pawn on g7, and the computer gives bishop f8 is best, and of course bishop e2 is advantage white. It's not quite major or decisive advantage white, but definitely a very solid advantage. We've got a good development lead here, which more than compensates for black's nice central control that he's going to have eventually someday when he plays d5. So that's how you would deal with bishop b4. So how would you deal with sort of the normal moves you would have to put up with? Probably queen c7, something like this. Now, one of my favorite lines against queen c7 is, of course, g3, but that's obviously not the English attack setup. That would be the move that Fischer played against Tao that I thought was really cool. And of course, I've emulated that move and I've done videos on that move. I like g3. But bishop e3 would be your English attack setup, and there's really nothing wrong with it. You can go ahead and play bishop e3. They can play a6. And then a move that I recommend here is actually kind of interesting. You might be thinking, okay, if I play f3 and I play g4 and I play g5, I'm attacking heir because there's no knight on f6. And yes, you're attacking heir. But also, there's actually no pressure on e4, so why would you preface g4 with f3? And that's actually like maybe objectively the best move is just g4. And this move scores incredibly well in practice. But g4 is, I got a bunch of games here, but I got Nepomniachtchi versus Alexis played on chess.com back in 2023, continued g4. And Nepomniachtchi followed the computer recommendations almost the entire way. G4 is very, very strong. So G4, B5, we have knight C6, queen C6, queen D2, bishop to B7, castles queenside. Of course, at no point are we worried about something like B4 because after knight E2, the pawn on E4 is not hanging because of course, the pawn on d7 is hanging, so that's an issue. And when we take the pawn on d7, that will be checkmate. So knight e2, for example, knight f6, we could continue with then f3, and we have our normal English attack set up now. We had plenty of time to play f3. G5 will come and kick that knight the way we always intended, and life will be good. One of the reasons white can get away with attacking basically heir is he's saying, look, e7 is not a great square for this knight. And if you do play knight e7, you're going to have to bring it to g6, and e5 is going to be the hope. And if you do all of that, you know what? I haven't moved this f pawn yet. I can always, of course, play f4, and that knight is going to be pretty uncomfortable on g6 if I play f4, f5, or if the knight goes to e5, I can play f4 and I can kick it. So this is just really good attacking stuff from white. So we have bishop b7, we have castles queenside from Nepomniachtchi, and then we have knight f6 was played by Alexis, and then we have f3, which is of course sort of the obligatory move. We have b4, and then we have knight e2, we have d5, and then we have e5 now attacking this knight. We have knight back to d7, and then we have knight d4, gaining that tempo against the queen. Queen to a4, king b1, knight takes e5, going after the seemingly free pawn, but of course opening black up to all kinds of attacking chances from white, because of course the black king is still in the middle. So we have bishop to f4, knight back to c6, knight to b3, bishop e7, bishop d3, knight a5, knight takes a5, queen takes a5, h4, just continuing with the basic English attack plan. White is down a pawn in this position, but he should have compensation in the fact that black's king will probably remain unsafe for the rest of the game. So we have d4 going after that pawn on f3, queen e2, castles kingside, g5, rook fd8, rook dg1, bishop d6, bishop back to c1, queen e5, queen f2, queen to d5, bishop e4. We have h5, and he of course fully intends to break through with g6. We have bishop takes e4, f takes e4, trying to take some of the bite out of that attack, d3, and then pawn to g6, going for the breakthrough. F takes g6, h takes g6, again threatening queen f7, again threatening gh7, and rook h7, and something to somewhere. The attack is coming. hg6, rook takes g6, d takes c2, queen takes c2, bishop e5, and at this point it's pretty clear that white has an advantage. White's attack is stronger than black's, and that matters more than material, but of course white does get his material back. Rook takes e6, rook a c8, queen to b3, king f8, Rook h8 check, king f7, rook takes e5. The game is effectively over. Black can't get his material back. They play a few more moves though. Queen c4, queen f3, and white is mating. King g6, queen f5 will be checkmate. This was white 1 in Nepomuchet versus Alexis, played on chess.com back in 2023. So this g4 move, attacking air, is actually a pretty good idea, and this would be sort of how you play your English attack against the Taimanov. You're not going to play your normal f3 without the knight on f6, but of course you can still play g4, g5, and it's reasonable. There's nothing crazy. There's nothing wrong with it. Anyways, I hope that helped you understand how to play the English attack setup against the Taimanov. I hope you learned something new about chess, and I hope you can use some of these ideas in your own games. Thank you very much for watching.